Let's pay homage to the lineage gurus. Homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming. Homage to Master Sakya Zeng Kong. Homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. And homage to Master Dukden Tarji. We pay homage to the three jewels of the altar of the Seattle Lizang Temple. Homage to the main deity of the group practice today, Jambala, the yellow Jambala. Simu Tanchen Katso. All Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma lecturers, Dharma assistants, directors of temples and chapters, and our disciples present here and over the internet. Our participating VIPs, there are only 3 of them. Accountant to Tribhuda Foundation, Dharma Sister Teresa. She's the accountant of our Tribhuda school, and she's been helping a lot of temples of Tribhuda school. And Dr. Ryan Zhuang, and the rep of the council person from Taipei City. And we also have many distinguished guests here tonight. Some people don't want to register their names on the list because they want to protect their privacy. But actually, everyone is a VIP. There are many good spiritual cultivators here. The true VIP is the one who is in true spiritual union with your yidam, that you can stop your thoughts in meditation and you can gain the true samadhi. Then that would be the most precious, distinguished guest. So, but not those representing status, power, or money. But the truly honored and distinguished guest is one with the real spiritual union, the one that can stop his or her thoughts, the one that can enter into samadhi. Very simple. Then they would be the very precious VIPs, honored and distinguished guests. So sometimes if you have been in spiritual union, then you can put your name down on the VIP list that you are in spiritual union with the Yidam, and you are able to confirm and prove the light, and you can see Yidam. And that you can hear the Yidam telling you Dharma teachings. But please remember, but it's not chaotic things. That you need to remember that you're in the innate, natural state that you can have total self-mastery. Then that would be true spiritual union, and you can experience or prove the bliss, emptiness, and clear light, but not like the madman in the psychiatric hospital. Like the joke that I often say, if you eat too much sugar, then you would get diabetic. And if you talk to the spirits or gods too much, then you would become a madman. And in the psychiatric hospital, they're all VIPs. Why? Because they think they are great. They're either Mazu or Guan Yin, or they call themselves the Pope or God. So in the mental hospital, they all think they're greater than the rest. There was this joke about mental hospital. The psychiatrist asked the patient, "Who are you?" And the patient answered, "I am the Pope." And the doctor asked, "So who sanctified you to be the Pope?" And he answered, "God." And there was another patient walking by. And then he said, "When did I do that?" So every one of them thinks that they're the greatest. And I've told another joke about a past president of Taiwan called Mr. Jiang Zhongzhen. There was a patient in the mental hospital. He was locked up in the room, and he said that he was this Mr. Jiang. And then there was another patient that also answered that he was also Mr. Jiang. And two Mr. Jiang, and they were locked up together in the room. And after some time, that room became very quiet. And that is strange. How come two Mr. Jiangs get along so well? So the doctor thought the patients have recovered, and they were invited out and asked, "Who are you now?" "I am Mr. Jiang." Okay, that's what he said before too. "And how about you?" And he replied, "I'm not Mr. Jiang now." "So who are you then?" "I am Mrs. Jiang." That's why that room became very quiet. So the mad people always think they're the greatest. But in our spiritual cultivation, if you have attainments, then they're very stable, they're very natural, they're very clear about lots of things. And they're always happy. And they have great self-mastery and have no afflictions, no worries. And whatever they encounter, they can just go with the flow and be very natural. Only then one would be considered having true attainment. Tonight we practice yellow Jambala, and as we all know, his body is yellow and his sitting position is half lotus, and on his crown there was a gold made a crown embellished with jewels. His face is round and he looks opulent and grandiose. And his body is wearing a necklace or chain of diamonds. And the right hand is holding a citrus-like fruit, and the left hand is holding a treasure mouse. In Tantrayana, there are many wealth deity practices, like the yellow Jambala, white Jambala, green Jambala, black Jambala, and also red Jambala. There are many wealth deities in Tantrayana. And there are also the dragon kings. They are the richest wealth deity in the ocean. And the wealth deity in the human world. The mountain gods, the earth god, the Prithvi Deva, they are all wealth deities. And also the earth mother goddess is also a wealth deity. And in the heavenly realm are the 4 heavenly kings. They are considered to be the wealth deities. Vaishravana, Virupaksa, Drashtarashtra, Viruddhaka. They're all wealth deities. And then the greater wealth deity, that would be Manohara Vasudhara. That's in Tantrayana. There are many wealth deities. Why? In Tantrayana, we have these wealth practices because we want to hook people first through fulfilling their needs and then guide them onto the Buddhist path. Because Buddhism on earth starts with suffering, because of suffering, starts because of suffering. Even when you have money, it does not necessarily eliminate suffering. But in this world, money can solve a lot of sufferings. We have insurance now, so when you get sick, you go to the hospital, you need money. We know that we need money for surgery, for hospitalization, or if you have emergency, you call an ambulance. So when the ambulance comes and then gets you to the hospital, it's not free. You have to pay for it. And Grandmaster has told this joke, and you have heard it before. 99% of things, of problems can be resolved with money, and the remaining 1% needs to be resolved with even more money. In reality, like a true attainment in your spiritual cultivation cannot be bought with money. Doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. You can have attainment in your spiritual cultivation. Typically, spiritual cultivation is not related to money. But why does one have to practice well deity practices? Because it is part of the path for accumulation. Most people can still cultivate spiritually without money. But if you want to build a temple so that more people can listen to the Dharma, then you need money. Or to make offering to your own guru. Like there are some gurus that would say, give me more gold. In the ancient past, they used gold. Then I would give you empowerment. But if you don't have any gold, if you don't have any offerings, Grandmaster will still give you an empowerment. But there are also many masters and gurus nowadays that still put great importance on money, and it's difficult to obtain empowerment from there. So in the Tantric tradition, Drokmi Lotso in Tibet, in order to receive empowerment, there's the requirement that you have to give a certain number of cows or sheep. And he was asked, why? You already have so much, why do you still want money, want more? And he replied, that is to show how important the Dharma is. That's why you have to offer lots of cows and sheep, or even you give all of your belongings in order to get the empowerment, to show how precious the Dharma is. You cannot be too casual about it. There was a disciple in Malaysia who sent $100 to Grandmaster and asked for 100 empowerments. 100 remote empowerments. So $1 for one empowerment. That means he does not treasure the Dharma. He did not cherish the Dharma. $1 for one empowerment. And the Venerable Lian Tze often changed the $1 bills to people. Because Grandmaster often gives blessings on the heads after meals. Whichever deity comes, then I would give blessings, but all the $1 bills are changed completely because they all just give $1 bill. Because after meals, Grandmaster would give blessings, and then you cannot receive anything for free, so people offer red envelopes, and because it's hidden inside the envelope, people cannot see, so people just usually give $1 bills. Of course, Grandmaster never set a price how much the blessing is, but Grandmaster's precept is that he definitely never asks for any money from anyone. This precept was told to me by the Venerable monk Liao-Ming, that never get into the hassle of money. So never say anything about money so that you don't get into entanglement with money. So just accept whatever being offered to you. Never set a price or ask for money from anybody. That's why up until today I was never involved in any dispute or entanglement with money. Never ever ask for anything more than they are willing to give. So people who lack money can ask for the empowerment for wealth deity practices. And you also have to practice the path of accumulation. And what is the path of accumulation? You practice your good fortune and your virtues. By having virtues, then you would gain good fortunes. Once you have virtues, then you have the affinity to meet a true and good guru or teacher. If you often do good and perform charity, then you create good affinity with many people. Then you would be able to attain or to obtain riches from the crowd. That means you have the good fortune, you have the merits. Once you have such affinity, then the wealth deity would be able to bestow upon you the wealth and riches. And this is called the path of accumulation. Even for poor people, they are able to practice the path of accumulation, not just for the rich people. How do people in poverty practice the path of accumulation? Actually, even if you just say a kind word, that's the practice on the path of accumulation. That you're kind and loving to people, that you respect people, that's the practice on the path of accumulation. So when you say a lot of nice words, that's the practice. You don't need any money for it. So the path of accumulation doesn't mean that you have to give money away. Even just a smile, that's the path of accumulation. Or you say nice, kind words, that's also the path of accumulation. Or you give good advice, that's also. Or if you're pure and innocent, that's also path of accumulation. The heavens would know, like the wealth deities would know, and they would bestow riches upon you. And by performing one tantric practice, that's also the path of accumulation. By doing the practice, it would move the hearts of heavens, and then they would bestow naturally upon you. In the past, I lived in Ballard. I just immigrated to United States. So I live in Ballard, Seattle. Most Norwegian immigrants live in that area called Ballard. When I just got to the US, I wrote articles, so that's all I could do. And I submitted to the Seattle newspaper, Chinese newspaper, and I got $4. The first money I earned in the United States. And with this $4, I bought bread and several eggs, and Simu made an egg sandwich. So Simu and I and Fo Qing and Fo Qi went to the gas park for a picnic, and we ate the $4. And we spent the $4 US. We did not have any money then. As you all know, no money is no honey. It was Seattle Chinese Post. You know what we bought at those times? We only bought at yard sales and garage sales. It was cold in winter. I never turned on any heater. I just closed tight the doors and the windows, but there's still cold air seeping in. Then what did we do? So we took some blankets. So on top of their jackets, they also used the blankets, and we bought them for $1 each. So we lived like a refugee. All the things that we bought are at the yard sales and garage sales. All used ones. Yeah, in America we have yard sales and garage sales. So we lived in poverty. And at that time, I prayed to heaven, and I saw Maitreya Bodhisattva flying in the sky. I thought, that's the end of us in America. We could not get sick. For Qi got sick first. There was blood in his urine. So we took him to the children's hospital. We got him there, and they said that he had to be hospitalized and to observe him for a week, and they charged $600 a night. And I said, oh, let's go home. And then the next one is, let's go back to Taiwan. Because $600 a night, we were thinking about going back to Taiwan. Because I had a disciple who's a doctor. At that time, I didn't have many disciples at all. So we thought at that time, let's just go back to Taiwan. Here, we had no friends and no relations. And staying in the hospital for one night, we have to pay $600. Oh my gosh. And we only paid $1 for a blanket. So it's impossible for us. So we got back, but the good thing, there was a Vietnam doctor. And when the doctor realized blood in urine, that's very easy, because the cold virus, the flu virus, got into the kidneys, and the kidneys were inflamed. That's why there was blood in the urine. So he prescribed some anti-infection, anti-inflammatory, and then he took the medicine, and truly he recovered. And it was only $20. And surely he recovered. So that was also a miracle. So I saw Maitreya Bodhisattva flying, and I told him I didn't have any money. So I prayed to them, to the well deities, to please bestow upon Grandmaster. And Maitreya Bodhisattva was carrying the cloth bag. It turned out that Maitreya was also a wealth deity, and inside his bag there were all kinds of precious jewels. And when he opened the bag, there were cars, houses, dragon robes, pearls, golds, all the precious gems, US dollars, franken bills, dollar bills, $100 bills, all falling from the sky. And we got rich. But after I had that vision, I looked upon myself, and we didn't have anything. It came slowly, gradually. Every day I practiced, and I was in retreat at that spiritual attic for 3 years. No money. So all I could do was to write an article, and then I sent it back to the Taiwan Post. And the chief editor was Xi Bingye, so I sent him my articles, and then they posted. And for an article, they give $300 NT. But because I practiced diligently and seriously, the wealth and riches started to come. Then disciples who had been in spiritual consultation in Taiwan, but they were from United States, and they all started to come. Like Wendy, the director of the Vajra Diamond Temple of New York City, also came. So the people from United States who went to Taiwan for spiritual consultation, they had dreams that I had immigrated to United States, to Seattle, all of them. The wife of a doctor in Chicago, the one in Houston, the ones in New York, and the ones in Vancouver, like Master Lien Kao. And they all started to come, and gradually the steps start. There were no chapters whatsoever at that time. So how many temples do we have now? Think about it. How many? 57. And how many chapters and centers? Over 400. And how many Vajra masters? Over 120 masters. And how many venerables? Over 600. And how many disciples? 5 million disciples worldwide. That's how it started. Because in your Dharma practice, in your retreat, by bearing the responsibility of spreading Buddha Dharma, naturally the heavens will bestow wealth upon you. So the provisions, the resources naturally come upon you, and you're protected by all the wealth deities and the protectors. I haven't worn my rings for a long time, but tonight, because we are practicing this wealth deity, that's why I wear my rings. And they were all offered by my disciples, and they carved my name on it, and also this ring. This was offered or given by the disciples from Indonesia, the ones who are related to the Indonesian president. So the current president of Indonesia, related to the president of Indonesia. And this ring was offered by the disciple from, and also offered by disciples. It's like they were falling from the sky. Truly. Falling from the sky. And bestowed by heavens. It's not that I ask, like, I want your ring. Never. It's given to me naturally. Like the rupelite were also offered by someone at their own will. That's very expensive. They were all given to me by people because once you have the merits, fortune, and the virtues, then you have the resources due to your merits and virtues. So when everyone practices the wealth deity practice, then you would increase your own merits and virtues. And if you do good and you help other people, then you are accumulating your own resources. Then you would be able to meet a very good, excellent guru to teach you. So today, because of the wealth deity practice, I talk about this. I talk about my past. When we just moved here, we were really poor. And our house too was very old and very old. We never turned on the heater for 4 years. In the past, there were no hot summers, only this recent years. There were 3 to 4 years when I just moved here, I never sweat. The weather was very nice and cool. Now let's talk a little bit about Lamdre. The standard of upholding or maintaining. So the Samaya actually is the upholding or maintaining, divided into 4. Maintaining the mind continuum that is arisen as expected. Practice the Samaya of the basic position at the intrinsic position and practice to arise to the mind continuum. What is the Samaya of the basic position, of the root? We often talk about these roots. Your root guru, your root yidam, your root protector. And in Tantrayana, there are also the 3 roots. The one endowed with compassion is Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. That's the root of compassion. Endowed with wisdom is Manjushri Bodhisattva. He is the root for wisdom. And the one endowed with Dharma power is Vajrapani Bodhisattva. And he is the root of Dharma power. So there are the 3 roots in Tantrayana. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva symbolizing compassion. Manjushri Bodhisattva symbolizing wisdom. Vajrapani Bodhisattva representing Dharma power. These are the 3 roots. In the beginning, in Tantrayana, there are 3 roots. One is the root guru, and your own root yidam, and your root protector. So you uphold these 3 roots. The vow between you and your protector, you have to uphold it. And you need to uphold the relationship between you and your root guru. And what kind of relationship? Not too close and not too far. Very simple. If your distance to your root guru cannot be too far and also cannot be too close, there's the saying, if you're too close to your root guru, it's as if you're being burned by the fire. But if you're too far, you wouldn't be able to get the light. But it does not represent the physical distance. That's not the point. It represents your respect toward your root guru. If you live far away, like say in Russia, we also have disciples. We also have disciples in Mongolia, in the outer Mongolia, at faraway places in Europe, in Africa, in Ivory Coast, in South Africa. We have disciples everywhere. Ivory Coast, South Africa, Ethiopia. And Lion country, and they're very far, so it's very difficult to come and meet Grandmaster. Like people who live in Brazil, they have to fly for a long time before they get to Seattle. Many disciples far away. But do you follow the rules when you do your practice? Are you mindful of your root guru? Do you respect your root guru? Because the source of the Dharma comes from the root guru. All the Dharma comes from the root guru. I have transmitted over 200 deity yogas. So every time when you do your practice, are you mindful of your own root guru? Like before Grandmaster gives a Dharma teaching, I always pay homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming, to Master Sakya Zeng Kong, to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, and to Master Thupten Dorje. Why do I always have to recite those? That's called the upholding, maintaining the mind continuum that is arisen as expected. Because your lineage comes from there. So for the grand ceremony this year, I will take out a lineage item. And that was bestowed by Master Thupten Dorje to Grandmaster as a lineage item. And they are Varahi and Vajrapani, and they were made from clay. And they were made by Gansu Rinpoche. And my Gelug lineage came from the Gansu Rinpoche from Mongolia, who transmitted to Thupten Dali. The Gansu Rinpoche transmitted to Thupten Nema, and from Thupten Nema transmitted to Thupten Dali, and Thupten Dali transmitted to Thupten Dorje, and Thupten Dorje transmitted to me, which is Thupten Jimo. Who is Thupten Jimo? This is maintaining the mind continuum that is arising as expected. Say if you take refuge in a lineage root guru and then you slander the root guru at a place behind my back, you will talk, 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 talk. What do you call this? Spreading the words. Libel and slander behind the guru's back, then you are imprinting that marks in your mind, in your heart, it will not go away, then it would become a cause and also a result, and you are violating Samaya. And you think that Grandmaster does not know, but you know yourself. Chinese always say that they are gods above our head. And not only that, because you're already imprinted in your mind, in your heart, you have breached the Samaya. So violating the Samaya is not being recorded by the gods that, oh, today you slander your root guru, you slander your yidam, you slander your protector. No, it's not that. It's not that. But once you say it, once you think it, already imprinted in your heart, then you have violated the Samaya. That in the future, you have to suffer the retribution. Then there's cause and effect. That's the karma. And it's called the mark inside your heart, inside your mind. That's why you don't have attainments in your spiritual cultivation, because you don't believe in your lineage root guru. It's already imprinted in your heart, so there's no use in your spiritual cultivation. Practice the samaya of the root at the intrinsic position, and you cannot violate the continuum, which is the lineage. You could never breach the lineage. So you're the same as the body of the guru, the body of yidam, the body of protector. And that's how it is when you're in spiritual union. If you're in spiritual union with the root guru, then you are the body of the root guru. If you're in spiritual union with yidam, then you are the body of the yidam. That's why I often say, Amitabha Buddha is my mother, Golden Mother is my mother, my brothers. My brother is Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva. My wife is Dakini. Very simple. So we're all together, and that's how spiritual union is. And this is Samaya. So practice to arise to the mind continuum, and you have to practice according to the teachings. Every time Sakyamuni Buddha gives a Dharma teaching, afterward the disciples would say, we will practice according to the teachings, never to violate the samayas. But if you fabricate the teachings, or if you rebel against the teachings or slander the teachings, then you violated the samaya. So that's why I often say that the ghost witch has violated the samaya. Of course, she did not follow Grandmaster's teachings. The Grandmaster never taught her to raise those 5 ghosts. So why did she do that? She violated the samaya, right? So Grandmaster never raised any ghosts. So you do that at your own will. And she tried to elevate them to become like a big, great gods. But Grandmaster never said any of those. You know, they are ghosts, but you try to make them into gods, and that's wrong. So she violated samaya, and she didn't even know it. And she called herself a tantrika. We should have caught her, take her pants off, and beat her behind But we can't do that because she's a woman. But actually, she has violated Samaya and violated precepts, and severely, many of them. That was just an example. I did not know that she enshrined and worshipped these 5 ghosts before. And that was not part of the lineage. Where did these 5 ghosts come from? She made it herself. That's why we call her the ghost witch. How come such a joke exists? A very beautiful, hot lady was driving a sports car and stopped by a policeman, and the policeman asked, "Why did you drive so fast?" And she replied, "Because I'm so bored." That's why she drove very fast. And the policeman, and the lady asked, "Are you writing me a ticket?" "No, I'm writing down my phone number for you." Because the lady was beautiful. Let me tell you where the Samaya is. The car was speeding. Not following the speed limit, so she's violating the Samaya. Very simple. That's what Samaya is. Xiaomin told his mom, "If I got 100 in my exam, what price will you give me?" And the mom said, $100 US. And then Xiaomin said, "That's good, let's give me $550 first." "Why do I have to give you $50? "Because I got 50. My score is 50. So this does not comply with the Samaya. Xiaoming is just street smart. Someone was saying that my daughter-in-law lives on the 3rd floor, and every time she buys something, she always places a note saying that I'm a pregnant woman, so please send it to the 3rd floor. And there was a delivery man that could not stand it anymore and shouted at the bottom, "It's been 3 years. I've been enduring it for 3 years. Are you pregnant with Lao Tzu?" Because the legend of Lao Tzu said that Lao Tzu was in the womb for 70 or 80 years. So that's why when he was born, he was very old already. That was the legend in China about Lao Tzu. So that's violating Samaya. Otherwise, people can see it through. Someone is selling watermelon, and the boss said, "Come, buy watermelon, eat my watermelon, If it's not sweet, it's free. In Taiwan, the watermelon sellers would cut it already for tasting, for free, for samples. And there was a pedestrian that's very thirsty. And he said, I want one that's not sweet, because the one that's not sweet is free. Anything else? So, the Samaya written in Lamdre, there are many of them. But in our Dharma practice, first we should revere the three roots. The root guru who transmitted the Dharma upon you. And in the future, that you want to go to the city of your yidam, that's the root yidam. And third, in your spiritual cultivation path, the one that you have to protect yourself, and that's your root protector, so that you have no hindrances and no obstructions, and you can practice at will. And that's the protector. And these are the three roots in Tantrayana or Mani Padme Hum.